Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Hyrule Chronicles. This is episode 107. I am ArticulateT, the Game Master for this series, and with me as always I have Renji Vox being played by TheNetherlad.
Good evening.
I have Hikan Sio being played by Avrdal.
Hello.
I have Zayden Shari being played by Rubber Pirate.
Hello.
And I have Max being played by Keistrith.
Hi.
So, friends, what happened last time?
After destroying the Harvester, the members of the Storm's Eye went to check on a few individuals that they cared about. Primarily being Maxwell and Maximilian back at their house, with Hikan checking on them briefly before Impa had a speech or get together for a debrief, and then everyone going back to the house shortly after, with the exception of Zayden, who went to the slums to assist them there as needed. Shortly after repairing the damage that they could to the house due to Maxwell's explosive aspects, which Hikan still stands by that they were very well done and the exact thing that he was supposed to do. They got some rest, getting up in the morning to go run some errands. First and foremost being going to see Lord Doss to follow up on what Impa had suggested in order to see about resurrecting Master Simeon. After finding out that though Minister Simeon is here, he may not be fully free from the aspects of lament, and figuring that they need access to a spell that they thought that they they knew the cost of, but didn't know exactly how they were going to get. They moved forward to Uriel's magnificent magical machinations. And Renji took a break to go have a heart-to-heart with Lord Simeon. After price checking a few things and getting the magical items made from the device that turned them into their human forms back from their animal shapes, they were checked in regards to it, and as they were getting ready to leave, as Renji was coming to step in, Max had a moment of intense pain as wings of draconic form burst from his back. And I believe that is where we left off.
Indeed. And so we return to our erstwhile comrades as they check in with Max, who is having a bit of a moment at this point in time. As noted from before, Uriel has placed before Max a hat, which he explains is a hat of disguise in case he wants to hide the wings for whatever reason, and some form of medicine to maybe help calm and ease the pain of the transition, but he hasn't like forced it upon him in any capacity. He's just kind of offered it there, and he's just keeping an eye as best he might. What do you do?
I think the last thing that Renji had said was, I take it this was not intentional. Seeing the wings unfurl. And then realizing that it is indeed not intentional. I'll probably try and like investigate to see if there's anything like physically that he can do.
Okay. Let's see. Roll me. We'll do this in two bits. How do you intend on examining Max to see about this? Do you intend to touch him at all, or do you just intend to examine from a distance?
I think I would get close up, and then, like, is Max like growling, screaming,
He's
shuddering?
just kind of lost in his own thoughts right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Just doesn't seem to notice your approach at all.
Okay. In then that case, I will kneel down next to Max and say, "May I examine?"
Um. Sure.
Okay. In that case, I will carefully try and I will touch the wings and
He does flinch when the wings are
Hmm.
touched because it's like I said last time, feeling things in brand new limbs is weird.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine.
No,
No,
no one can.
no.
So, give me either a medicine or a arcana.
Given that my medicine check has a +4 bonus,
Mm-hmm.
I will opt to choose Arcana with a +12.
Yeah, that might be a little bit better.
16.
Okay.
Well, you could have gotten help with the medicine check.
Okay.
It may have helped.
So, with as you've decided to
Would
approach
he
this,
have advantage from knowing how Max has dragon blood in the first place
um,
and being
oof.
quite familiar with Max's condition?
Yes. Well, ordinarily yes, but I would say it's a bit of a difficult call to make because unless Renji has studied Torquin's notes, it's
have partly
have.
done so.
Okay, then by all means, I'd say you can have this roll either Arcana or Medicine with advantage. It's just depending on which thing, depends on which bit of information that you're looking for in this aspect. Arcana is more the magical aspect of this, and Medicine is the basic biology.
That is fair. Renji has been reading up on Torquin's notes, and he's very much planning on going through the Harvester's notes as well. Just, illegal and morally objectionable science is kind of his genre by now. So, another Arcana check. That's a 5 plus 12.
17. Okay, and of course,
Thanks
this
for your
say
knowledge.
if Max allows anybody else to approach and examine, they can also attempt the alternate check as well. But the with the Arcana specifically, with a 17, what you remember from Torquin's notes, as well as what you remember seeing in his tower, you can tell that it was essentially an attempt to fuse basic aspects of biology that would normally not be compatible in the way that they should be. I don't think, in all honesty, there's probably hasn't really been anybody who has successfully proven themselves as being half dragon, and you only really know of 2 dragons who are actually dragons. You've got whatever the hell has taken over a large swath of land over the northern border to the Volgan nation, or Tundranax. And I suppose the third one would probably be Volvagia, depending on how much you know of Goron lore. But but there hasn't really been anybody going around saying, "Oh, I'm half dragon," proudly stating it as if their biological parents are a person and a dragon.
Yeah, I think we need a history check for Renji to see if Renji has read up on Volvagia.
Are you proficient in history?
I am proficient in history.
Okay.
I would imagine, given that you've gone to places like Zora's Domain and other things frequently, that you've probably heard something.
And I mean, I do
Yeah.
have access to the castle library, but
Yeah.
it's more like, have I read up on that specifically, or have I, brushed up on it in passing?
I would say with your passive history, you probably are aware of stories regarding a great and terrible dragon that was sealed inside the Death Mountain volcano by a Goron hero. Like the exact details might escape you, but you know that that's a common story.
I will also, whilst scouring through my own knowledge in regards to the the examination of Max, do I get the feeling, based off of Torquin's notes, or as far as I know, that this was intended? Like this was the intended outcome, or is this like a malformation?
I think this is closer to what Torquin intended, even if it might not be 100% what he was going for.
Okay,
Because he was essentially looking for a method by which he could have something incomparable power to other like magically inclined people. Like that's the reason why he kidnapped Princess Sophitia. He wanted somebody who, like, well, I've done everything I can with dragons, I guess. Let's go with gods, and just like wanted somebody with Hylia's blood in order to see if he could do the same thing. But with, and I suppose you have like three prime examples being Max, Maxwell, Maximilian. And
there's the other two Power Rangers.
Yeah. With
Sorcerers.
Maximilian, he doesn't seem as I suppose, like the amount of dragon that is part of his being doesn't seem as dense as Max or Maxwell by comparison. So while he's certainly a potent spellcaster, he's not like he doesn't have as many scales as his brothers do. He has like he looks probably the most plainly human in lesser clothes compared to the other two.
Is Maxwell the white sorcerer?
Maxwell's the red one, the fire one. Maximilian's the ice one, who was lobotomized.
Maximilian is ice. Okay. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as I'm inspecting Max, I think due to Renji still not being in the best state of mind at the moment, it's like, well, nothing seems to be outside of the expectations here. Is there any place where this hurts, Max?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Well, I understand that such a rapid transformation or alteration can have an impact on your nervous system. It should not hurt
Max
any...
abruptly stands up, almost falls over because of the new weight on his back, and then just says, "I'm going back to the house."
Don't forget the hat if you want.
He's already going out, and as he does, the wings just kind of almost instinctively fold around him like the cape from Gargoyles.
Yep. Okay.
They just cape around him, and then he's just out of the building.
Yeah.
All right. Then, with that solved, were there any other matter?
Nothing to see here.
Uriel just kind
This is not so much the standard, like, sarcasm, irony of Renji, like, well, with that out of the way. Like, this is very matter of fact and uncaring.
Yeah. Like, Uriel kind of, like, watches Max leave and with, like, a raised brow, and then, like, glances towards Renji, and then just, like, has the kind of countenance of, I'm too tired for this. He like, turns to say something to Hikan and Zayden. Who has the sending stone? Tamara?
That
Renji.
would be me.
Okay. So that the from that stone, you get a message from Mara saying, "Hello, you guys okay?"
Mara. Yes, we are at Uriel's. Max has gone home for I suppose, the afternoon. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I just wanted to let you know, Impa wants to talk to you guys.
We already talked with her.
She needs to talk to you
Well,
again.
yes. I see. Yes, of course. Lots of things have happened.
Yeah, just a
Well,
bit.
I believe we should be able to do so. Yes. Will you be there as well, or do you want to meet up at a later time?
I will be there as well. I've also been asked if Uriel could come along too.
Do you require Max as well?
It would be ideal. Why, is he okay?
Physically, he is fine. He may have some new physiological changes to deal with at the moment. I suppose that could be. I suppose you could say that he may not be okay.
There's a bit of a pause, and then Mara says, "Give me a sec." And then there's another pause for a moment, where she comes back to the stone and says, I think Impa would like everybody to be here. So if he needs some time, then we'll give him some time. Maybe if you guys can come by in the evening. I don't know if you have anything else that you need to take care of.
There's some things, some errands. I think we'll be able to do an evening meeting. Yes. Will there be food?
Again, another pause. And then comes back and says, I don't think it's a sit-down meal. It's a business thing. If you wanted to get something to eat, then you're more than welcome to, but...
I think we'll get something made at the house then. Yeah, we'll be ready at the evening hours.
Okay. See you then.
All right then.
It's just a moment on, like, the camera just kind of pans over to where Mara is. She's staring at the stone. Like, what in the God's name did I just talk to?
There's like it's a split.
The word is what
frame. Yep. Where it moves from where Renji's at, and the screen pans over to Hikan, and Hikan and Mara have the same look on their face right now.
Yeah. But yeah. So the conversation ends. You guys are so as Max heads back to the house, you guys are in Uriel's shop. What do you intend to do?
There is at least one thing that I would like to figure out. One is I still have the arcane battery in my inventory.
I thought I was holding onto that.
That's absolutely possible.
Because I think Max just kept it from the
yeah, I think that's correct.
I see. Then I'm just going to delete that, but it is something that I wanted to talk with Uriel about for like repairing it.
I think he's already talked to you guys in Sarkosa about it. Like he turned up in Sarkosa
Not
after
like the
you guys
specifics,
arrived.
right?
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's fair.
Also, you
Yes,
should probably tell him that Impa wants to talk to him.
Yes, I will relay that.
Otherwise, she's gonna be really mad at him later.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to be like a good idea, just logically speaking. So I will convey that, telling Uriel that he would also be requested to join this evening meeting. Regarding, as far as Renji can extrapolate, the recent attack on the castle and the town. Possibly a debrief, possibly a briefing for what is to come next.
Right. Well, if that's the case, then I'm gonna need to get some proper sleep. I can't go a nap without sleep and then go to a royal summons. That'd be rude.
There is still time for you to rest up. Yes.
Well, yeah, I intend to. Unless any of y'all have any more pressing business, I'm gonna have to ask you politely to vacate so I can go and get some sleep.
Very well. I did have a question about identifying one of our items that we found, but I just go blank for a moment. I believe I will be able to manage on my own.
Alrighty then. I'll see y'all this evening. You have a pleasant afternoon considering what's recently transpired.
Well, yes, there's things to do, yes. And I think, yeah, Renji just leaves, imagining that that Hikan and Zidane will be joining him.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You head out. Door closes behind you. There is as the door is locked. Like a little roll of cloth apparates above the door, which then unfurls and just says closed. Leaving you back into the afternoon of Hyrule Castle Town.
Is there any visible damage still on the door?
A little bit. Like Max's mending has repaired a decent chunk of it, but there's still bits and pieces that are missing because of the wings appearing, interrupting the task.
Yeah, I think I'll just do a couple of castings of mending as well to at least get the outside appearance in more shop shape.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so
That's the case, as it takes a minute to cast, Hikan quickly writes a note.
okay.
Yep.
So, you have some time to kill between now and when you have to go and speak with Impa and everything again. So, what do you plan on doing?
Personally, I would like to cast Identify on the item that I had, the ivory forearm on ring around heart necklace, I believe, with a smiley or sad face.
Ah, yes. I need to go grab my book.
Your book.
Let's see whether or not I have it.
And I'll be doing this back at home, sitting cross-legged with my shield on my lap.
Max is just figures he should probably inform his brothers about what happened.
Perhaps.
They should probably be aware they might explode wings sometime.
Yeah, after several months of intensive adventuring.
Yeah.
I do actually have a more specific reason than that for why it's happening now.
Okay.
Hmm.
Because Max used all of his magic twice in like a week.
Hmm.
Hikan's gonna
That's a
find
lot in a short period of time.
Understood.
Hikan's gonna find a postman, give what he just wrote to the postman, and deliver it to tell him to deliver it to Lady Risha. Because I don't know if she's still on her way back from Sarkosa. I doubt that she is, but still. And
Yeah.
then, if it is a short enough thing, stop by the Twin Saw Initiative and be like, hey, our thing got destroyed, can you fix it?
Oh dear. Yeah, you that's easy enough to do. And Zayden?
I have no ideas.
No ideas? Okay. Alright, so we'll just quickly go down the list of things. The pendant that you cast Identify on is a periaptive health.
Ooh.
It says that you are immune to contracting any disease while you wear this pendant. If you're already infected with the disease, the effects of the disease are suppressed while you wear the pendant.
Excellent.
I'll put it in everybody's journals. There we go.
Wait, is that the smiley face?
Yeah. So the actual pendant itself looks like the gem is a heart where one side is like a smiley or maliciously smiley looking face, and the other half is a sad one.
I see.
Yeah.
Yes, got it. Yeah, then I'm going to be switching that out.
Is it attuned?
It is not a attuned item. It just makes you immune to contracting disease.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you
Pretty
identify that.
Pretty neat.
Yeah. Very pretty neat.
And in the meantime, I'll probably be going through Torquin's notes and the books that I've found over at the Harvester's Ziggurat.
Okay. With those tomes in particular, it's difficult.
I cast comprehend languages as a ritual then.
No, I say it's not difficult to read because it's hard to read it. It's just like it's difficult to read because the contents is rather horrific. Like the
At the moment, I don't care too much.
Oh no. You've recent events has desensitized you to a lot of things. To a regular person, it might be difficult to continue reading it just for the sake of the fact that its contents are just filled with very vivid and detailed descriptions of horrific things that the harvester may have done so many years ago. He has clearly taken up the role of as he screamed at you about in the ziggurat itself. He had taken up the role of doing perhaps excessive things to enemies of Hyrule, and had ultimately seen profit or gain in doing so. But there is a clear dissatisfaction towards the end of his notes that may well indicate exactly what it was that he was that led him to attempting a coup and taking the Triforce and all the other lovely stuff that he and the rest of the interlopers had ultimately tried. He does make a lot of mention about the purpose of the ziggurat, and or at least the ziggurat itself is just an extension to his original hidden workshop sort of thing. And he had designed everything because he knew at the time that there was the use of the Mirror of Twilight to throw people into effectively a banished realm of shadow as a form of punishment would be something that he anticipates, and the process of designing the extra, more technologically advanced rooms within the ziggurat is essentially a contingency for that, a method by which he can escape on his own terms. Because it's not surprising when there are passages within his notes that actively describe his fellow revolutionaries as being incompetent or delusional or pathetic. There is sadly no loyalty among this cadre of villains.
Let's see.
Yeah. But yes, and by contrast, while the Harvester and Torquin are have very similar fields, Torquin approaches everything very clinically. It's a disregard for life in the sense that it's just another thing to analyze and overanalyze and manipulate how it is needed for the sake of advancement. The Harvester was more megalomaniacal and malicious in the way he describes everything. But yeah. Yeah, and that occupies the vast majority of your afternoon. Meanwhile, with Hikan, you write your letter, and you pass it to the nearest postman, who kind of takes a look at when you say take it to Lady Risha's estate, he kind of pauses a moment and says, "Oh, well, if you want to, I mean, she's just arrived back, got through the gates this morning, actually. I mean, I can still take it if you don't have the time."
Hikan does remember that Lady Risha wanted us to contact her specifically so things were not seen in regards to stuff. So Hikan will indeed take advantage of this postman's abilities.
Okay. All right then. I'll take care of that. That'll be 5 copper, please. You know, I know it's only down the road, but
I give him a gold piece.
Oh.
I've converted everything to gold, so I don't know how much copper and silver things I have.
He will provide change if needed.
That's good.
Yeah.
You have 20 times as much. That's no problem.
It's quite the tip.
We're an adventurer.
Yeah.
That's true.
And he takes a note and takes off running. And with that done, is there anything else you needed to do before heading back to the house?
I was going to the Twin Saw Initiative to be like, hey, stuff got damaged in the attack. No rush on it or anything, but if you wouldn't mind fixing it up when you have a moment, here's money.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know that they're probably busy fixing other things, too.
Yeah. It's quite the long line when you get there. But when you do, so you are waiting for a bit of time as requests come piling in. It's not just there either. Goron Works just down the road seems to also be experiencing a lot of people coming in asking for repairs on basic tools or touching up weapons or even just outright buying weapons to protect themselves from future issues such as that. There are even a couple of town guards just on this street trying to get everybody to at least form an orderly line. But yeah, after an amount of time, you do put your request in. Jess, one of the sisters, just sit like you as you kind of put the request in for the repairing of it's the outbuilding next to the stone tower, isn't it? Yeah, it just sees the like one entire building, please. It's like, oh my, okay. We'll bill you at some point. It's not going to be soon, but we'll bill you. Because
I would like one of your finest buildings, please.
Because it's
like going to B&Q and looking at the sheds.
Yeah,
it's a small building at least.
A small building, but there's 2 carpenters.
If that's the case, and I get that with a passive insight of 19, it's like, do you guys need more money to hire help?
Money's fine. It's just time. We'll get to it. Don't worry. We'll take care of it. It's just the whole city, you know.
That's why it's like no rush on this. Our stuff's fine. It's just I'd like to have it again.
Yeah. Thank you for your patience.
There's also loads of glass that's messed up in the main house, right?
Well, you would have to pick up the glass and put it to the thing to mend it. So
yeah, it's.
Yeah.
That'll be the rest of my my afternoon.
Thank you for your patience. In a minute, and just kind of gets up and goes over to another part of the crowd. You can see like the stack of like papers and everything of all these requests is messy and out of order and everything. It's entirely possible that like they won't be dealt with in the order that they came in, just whatever's on top of the pile first and work backwards from there. But
I will, no sleight of hand or anything, I will just move mine to the bottom of the stack that's there and walk out.
Okay. Yeah, you head out and unless there's anything you need to do specifically, you can make
There's nothing I need. I just kind of check over, take a look at Sebastian, see how Sebastian's doing. I don't stop in and say hi because Sebastian likes to talk. But I do check, maybe wave through the window and then head out to the house.
Yeah. You check in. Oddly enough, a good portion of Sebastian's property is relatively untouched. Like, sure, the outside and like the tables where maybe a couple of bits and pieces are just kind of left outside for people to look upon, then pick it up and take it inside to buy it. They're a mess, but otherwise the building itself seems fine. Even the sign seems to have survived. It's so Sebastian's doing all right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You make your way up the roads. If you cast a glance at Crossroads cross stitching on the way, you see that much like the other places in Hyrule, it's a bit battered, but everything's fine. There is a bit of a queue there, but it's not as big as Goron Works or Twin Saw Initiative. It's just there are people there, and mostly
monsters ate my curtains.
Yeah. Yeah. No one needs to really kind of be resupplied on much stuff. In all honesty, most people are there just to buy the thickest, like the rolls of the thickest material that Ike seems to have on offer, just for the sake of using it as tarp for the interim.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, everything. It is just a cacophonous afternoon of people reconstructing stuff after a night of chaos, and you return back to the house in good time to at least relax, have a meal, that sort of thing. Max,
Yes.
you were the first person back to the house, and
Yes.
you kind of enter in. There are like the brothers seem to look at you quizzically when they see your brand new cape. But as they kind of, as you explain it to them, Maxwell does have questions. He kind of, but he doesn't really kind of prod too far into them. He's just sort of like, he'll ask a question, then whatever answer you provide is like, oh, okay, all right, and then just sits and mulls it over for a bit. Maximilian is quiet throughout the whole thing. He just kind of like takes in the information, thinks about it a bit more, listens, like kind of essentially whatever question he seems to want to ask, Maxwell's already asking it. They are...
He's me in most conversations.
They are perturbed slightly, but they aren't panicking. They're just kind of like dwelling on the possibility of the future, and whether or not they want that, and if they don't want that, how they go about not doing that. Like
Max is gonna say, I used a hell of a lot of magic this week, and it started when I tried to cast a spell.
Yeah,
I think that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, as you explain that, they kind of, you can see the gears turning in their heads as to whether or not they want to continue being able to cast magic or not.
When I said a hell of a lot, I mean a hell of a lot.
But it's like you can see that they're like over preparing for that. They're being overly cautious. Like it's not so much a case of, okay, we'll just keep doing this in moderation and don't overdo it. It's like just in case, we'll just stop. But yeah, but otherwise they seem like they're clearly thankful for you being able to inform them of that, and they just continue kind of like after that they'll kind of sit down and do whatever it was that they were doing to pass the time, be it reading or occasionally tempting themselves to practice a little bit with their magic, just to kind of like do some basic cantrip sparks or whatever it is, but then stopping themselves.
If he sees them doing that, Max will try and help.
Yeah.
His advice isn't great, but he's trying.
Yeah. Yeah. As everyone returns one by one, it is a quiet household. If there was a clock in this building, all that would be most of the noise that you'd get would just be the constant tick, tick, tick. As times.
Also, Max tries to make food for people.
Yeah.
Brace yourselves, guys.
Does Max want help?
He doesn't ask. He just starts trying to make food.
Give me a.
That he's working.
Can I make an insight check?
Go for
to
it.
see if Max wants help, but will not ask, because I know people like that.
It's more that he just wants to do something that isn't thinking about the wings.
Yeah.
Okay. Hikan will not like hover or like be the overbearing aspect about it, but he will stay in the kitchen, and then just like with like Max goes to like put on meat on a unprepped pan, Hikan goes, "You're gonna want to put some oil on that," or something like that. Very casual and gentle.
Yeah.
But I will be giving help.
Yeah. It's after, like, as you kind of go through the process of cooking things, I would say that because you're taking your time with this, and yeah, I would say that after an amount of time, whatever meal it is that you have prepared, is like the smell that comes from the kitchen is certainly pleasant. It's certainly appetizing. And you managed to make enough for everybody who would be interested in eating, as people are wont to do. But yes, you, yeah, with Hikan's gentle nudging and everything like that, you are able to. I'd say that you've saved yourself
And
from
make
having to do
something
a
edible.
roll. Yeah, you make something edible. And as you kind of are sitting down to eat and stuff, there is a knock at the door.
I'll get it.
You go over to the door and you open it up, and you see Lady Risha there, who's flanked by 2 guards.
We need to oil the door hinges.
She says,
Max looks towards the cooking oil like,
No, not that oil.
she kind of like
He
glances
said it
about
was
and says,
oil.
"Well, I'm glad I found the right place. We're not interrupting anything, are we?"
No, come in. Yeah,
Do we
oh,
have
sorry.
we might have some more food for maybe for you, not for your guards, sorry.
I'll check.
Oh,
Max gets up,
You
goes to the kitchen to
worry.
be out of the view of the guards.
It's like she kind of like no, you don't. Okay. Looks over to the rest of me and says, "So, I got your note. We thank you for keeping me updated at the very least.
Glance over at Hikan.
It will be a little bit of time before I make my way back to Sarkoza in order to take care of this last stretch of ours. But I do intend on us meeting there to discuss the final parts of this plan. I have only just recently arrived back in Hyrule Castletown. There's some business I need to take care of.
And then Max comes back without food, but with a glass of water.
Ah,
Because there wasn't any food left, but yeah.
thank you for checking regardless. Thank you. She'll gracefully take the glass of water and look over to the others, look over to everybody and say, though it seems that in our brief absence, myself and Milrose had missed quite the adventure.
I think it's lucky that you weren't here. You might have gotten hurt.
Doubtless, I would have gotten hurt, but from all accounts, I'm pleased that it has not escalated to what it was. Are you all very well?
I cannot answer that.
Very well.
Max just shuffles a bit and is like,
I will take this awkward silence and murmuring as a resounding talk about it later.
Oh, sure, we can talk about it later, yes.
Case of water. And says, well, I just wanted to check in, see if everything was all right.
I think it's okay as things can be expected right now.
We have a meeting with Lady Impa tonight. If you have any particular orders or suggestions in regards to the Western issue, might be a good idea to talk about that, unless you wish to meet later on after the meeting.
I was due to meet with Marius, or the king, but unfortunately, given current circumstances, from what I understand, it might take a while, and time in this instance is not what I have. So I shall simply leave a missive and then return to Sarkosa and await orders there. But
You have it. We could take it. We're on our way there.
I still need to write things down.
Okay.
Thank you, though. It's awfully kind. She kind of finishes the rest of the water, puts it to one side and says, unless there is anything you specifically need of me in this moment, I shall not interrupt your dinner any longer.
I believe that is all. Yes.
Very well. Kind of like bows her head slightly. Says, good. I shall hear from you soon then. In regards to this war of ours. She bows slightly and turns to show herself out. And leaving you guys alone with the remainder of your food for the earlier part of the evening. Yeah. Anything anybody needed to talk about or do between now or when you go and meet with Impa and the others?
I don't think there's anything Hikan wants to address in this particular moment.
Renji has been relatively silent except for whenever someone talks to him. And during dinner, he has been just continuously writing notes whilst cleaning out his bowl of whatever kind of stew or soup or foodstuffs Max has been making.
Whatever it isn't complicated.
Yeah.
To be fair, uncomplicated food is sometimes the best.
Mm-hmm.
No, I want comfort food.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, given other changes, what language is Renji writing these notes in?
That's a good question. I think a mix of common, Sheikah, and Twilight.
Okay.
And his face is remarkably stern when he's writing in Twilight. Not so much, not stern, but more like expressionless.
Placid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were saying something, Alphonse?
I was acknowledging it.
Okay.
Max is gonna be a bit more blunt and just look at you and say, "Are you okay? You've been acting weird."
I'm in good physical shape.
That's not what I'm
Yes.
talking about.
Then what are you talking about?
You've been acting weird.
He's quiet for a moment. I've been taking on what it is that I took from the Harvester. It's been occupying my mind.
And are
As
you
such, I
okay?
don't
And are
find-
you okay with that?
As such, I don't find I have much in the way of other things. The bandwidth of my mind is diminished. I don't think it'll last. I just thought that going through the notes and getting my own thoughts on paper would help. So far, I don't think I'm through with it just yet.
Okay.
I glance over at the others, and I unhook a necklace, the periapt of health that I identified previously. Is there any of us that is particularly susceptible to disease, do you think? This might
Not-
come in useful.
Not especially, but I basically always have lesser restoration ready to cure disease, so might make sense if I wear that, because then if I get the disease, it might make it harder for me to cure it.
Well, it makes one immune to any and all diseases, and it would suppress any diseases that are currently afflicting the system of the wearer.
Can't figure out if it's due to the fact that he was a drunken master beforehand, but Hikan kind of shrugs and is just like, I think he's... and explains that he believes he's mastered his body enough that he does not have to worry about such things.
I think my body's been affected by enough magic today.
Well then, I'll be keeping it for the moment. But
Maybe check with Hyrule how much it's worth.
yes, we do have some money goals that we need to reach. Is that as good an idea as any?
Because if Zan can just cure diseases, we don't really need it.
True. But it does... It adds to one's capabilities without a particular requirement. Like some other weapons and items that I have.
Perfectly fine just to hold on to it, really.
Well, we will see. We get to speak with Uriel soon enough anyway. But as for your questions, I believe I will be fine, but maybe ask me again later.
Okay. I will.
And I finish my bowl of
Food.
stuff.
Yeah. You finish up your meal, and it gets to the point in the evening when you think maybe it's a good time to get moving. So you gather your things, gather your party, and continue on. You head out of the house. The brothers are just going to kind of, they wave you off, but they don't do much to stop you in any regard. They seem comfortable in this instance. Perhaps with the recent events, they or at least Maxwell feels a bit more confident in his capability of defending the house. Probably not avoiding collateral damage, but that's a different thing. But yeah, you walk through the evening streets, still a little quieter than it usually is in Hyrule Castle Town, given the situation. But you make your way through the gates and head up the long road to the castle itself. As you pass through the hallways, despite the damage still being cleared up, everything seems to be business as usual. And you open the doors into the audience chamber, where you see Impa and Aaliyah and the royal family, Marius, Sophitia, and Rufus, who are just kind of standing, waiting there for you. In addition to this group, you see Mara, and you also see Uriel. Uriel seems to be in slightly higher spirits than he was when you first spoke to him earlier, having had a good nap probably by this point. But he stands straight and kind of gives you a nod as you enter in.
Does he have his own ring of rest now?
Probably
It's not
not.
a Jamet item, he could just put it on.
Catnap.
Yeah, he probably just had like a proper nap, just so that he can like feel a bit more awake, feel a bit more rested when having.
Or maybe that
important
most
conversation.
magical concoction, coffee.
Oh, he's
did have
already
a big-
tried
he
coffee.
He did have the big goblet of it when we walked in.
Right,
Yeah.
yes. Yes. So even that is ineffective. Ineffective.
He's like me, where coffee has the opposite effect than what it's meant to.
He was drinking it to go to sleep.
Yay for neurodivergent brains.
But
Imagine a brain making sense. Couldn't be mine.
But yeah, you as you enter in, Impa just kind of stands there, arms folded, gives you a nod, and says, "Welcome back. How was your rest?"
It was alright. As well as could be expected, I suppose.
Okay.
Max's wings unfold from cape mode, and he's like, "How do you think?"
I haven't rested.
Yeah, like Impa just kind of like raises a brow. Aaliyah still stands there like a statue. Mara seems quite surprised. Marius is also quite like, Sophitia and Rufus both like, oh, that's so cool.
At least some people like it.
Yeah. Max will like it when he learns how to fly.
Impa's like, well, not bad. So, I know we talked about this briefly, but I think it's important that we get our ducks in a row here as to what we're doing next. After all, while we've managed to survive this situation, we still have other problems that need to be taken care of. And I just want to have a detailed report exactly on what we're going to be doing and how we're going to be advancing this time forward. I thought it would be pertinent, perhaps, if we would have Uriel here. Uriel just kind of, like, shrugs and says, "I'm not exactly sure why you need me in this little gymwag you got going on. Surely there's got to be other people out there who are more skilled than I am. Or whatever it is y'all need."
As far as I know, you are still the most powerful, if not one of the most powerful sorcerers or magicians here in Hyrule Castle Town.
Yeah. Marius just kind of like leans forward in his chair and says, "Oh, well, that is the long and short of it. We have not seen Lord Draymore in months, and we have not heard from Zelish. For the past while now, you have essentially been the reigning magical authority in Hyrule Castletown. We were actually contemplating whether or not you wish to step up to Lord Draymore's position if there was no continued sign of him." And Uriel just kind of like, it seems slightly surprised, but after a moment shakes his head and says, "I do appreciate the offer, Your Majesty, but unfortunately, considering my line of work, that would be a grievous conflict of interest."
Unfortunately, the government doesn't pay enough.
I mean,
Yeah.
you could divest your businesses, but given your enthusiasm for your craft, I doubt that would be an acceptable suggestion.
I'm willing to offer some advice from time to time, but actually taking up that governmental position, I'm afraid I'll have to decline. Thank you, though. And Marius just kind of looks a little bit disappointed, but the Emperor says, "Well, I suppose that is that. It is unfortunate we do not have Zelish with us at this moment in time, but we do have ways. We do have a ways to go. So, let us talk about exactly what is left on our plates. Start with the easy one that's a bit more tangible. The one remaining member of the Twilight Cartel, Cassandra."
Lady Risha has an idea for stuff that's over there, Hikan says as he stretches. And she'll be sending a missive shortly. She visited us before we sent it over.
Oh, well.
And then we'll be meeting her in Sarkosa.
Very well. Impa just kind of like, well, that went a lot faster than I was expecting. As she says that, though, Sophitia raises her hand and says, "Not to belabor a point, but is there... I would like a bit more details as to the situation that is out west anyway. I know that Cassandra Summerborn is not exactly a difficult physical fighter from all reports that we have had, but she was still a member of the Twilight Cartel, which is quite dangerous. But there's something about a moblin? What do you know anything about this one?"
You mean Gorespire?
What an unappetizing name. Yes, Gorespire. What is... Might I ask for more details?
I believe Hikan knows the most of it.
Hikan weighs options for a little while and then sighs. So, there's a few artifacts that I was sent to go gather, and Gorespire is a little different than a lot of other moblins. I don't mean that like he's more physically imposing, but there's he thinks differently. Like, at least directly with one other moblin, that moblin, while listening to others, did come to a forefront to defend his space. Well, first time we ran into Gorespire, he fled when he was confronted. One of the things that he has, and Hikan will pull out the Quake medallion and proffer it towards Impa and the Royals, should they wish to take a look at it, is a set of one of these, and as far as I know, these are in a set of 3. They are very dangerous, except in... no, even in those situations, they're very dangerous, but in some cases, they can be dangerous to the user as well, and Hikan will remove some of the bandaging on his left arm to show the leftover scarring on his arm.
Oh. Okay. And
That actually brings up a salient point. The medallions that Hikan is in search of would require a conduit to safely use. In our own, in our communal efforts to find and get rid of corruptive influences in Hyrule, we may require an item of imperial make.
Specifically, the forces that made Masville Village disappear.
Yes. The Sovereign Hand is a powerful corruptive influence on Hyrule, even more than was first imagined. And as such, we may have use of the Master Sword.
As you say that, there's a very slow turn and look between both the Sheikah, before they look to Marius, and like all eyes kind of fall on the king as he very he falls quiet as he kind of thinks over what has just been said. And he takes in a deep, shaky breath. He says, I do not think that is something I can provide.
That's not the only thing that'll work. Other examples that I've found out about are things like any kind of sacred item. The cane of Birna. I don't know if the goddess's heart or Chronica's timepiece would work, but those would happen. I have talked to some of those temple individuals. Some of these are missing, others of which I just don't have permission to use, so that's okay.
Yeah. Impa just kind of like nods and says, It is a difficult position that we're in. It's most like with a number of those religious artifacts, it is difficult to utilize it, only because of how important they are, not only to the fundamental religious makeup of these very dedicated people, but how powerful those things are. We were fully unaware of these medallions, and if they are as strong as you say they are, then that does change things significantly. But I'm and she thinks it over a little bit more. And as she does, there is a voice from the back of the room, like at the entrance, that says, it would have a number of different repercussions, I think, would be ones that is not worth thinking about, at least in time. And you turn and you see Nihilus standing in the doorway, who kind of walks in and looks about and says, there is a tangled web of history that comes with items like that, and a lot of other I say dominoes that will fall when something is removed from its very specific spot. Is something I imagine will have to be talked over quite a lot.
As he gets closer, I will just incline my head, say, "Father, good to see you." And all that sense of detachment and placidity is completely removed as I try to act as if nothing is wrong.
It's good to see you too. Though, unfortunately, it is not under specifically beneficial circumstances.
Well, with how things have been going, that has rarely been the case.
I apologize, Your Majesty, and to all those gathered for hijacking this meeting, as it were. I bring urgent news. And Input just kind of says, by all means, go for it. You couldn't have picked a better time, honestly. Niles gives a nod and says, I believe Zelish may be compromised. And there's a pause as he lets that hang. And he...
What do I need to roll to keep my face straight?
Max just straight up says what happened.
Renji, Deception. Or Performance. Either one.
21.
Anyway, yeah, you managed to keep together. It's all good.
6.
I should not go, ha!
Yeah. Max, you ask a question, it says, so, do you remember how you found me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
At first, I thought that the two Sheikah that I was with at the time had been... Well, I had thought that they had been waylaid in similar fashion. But I decided to do a bit of digging. And as he says that, he turns a little bit to Renji specifically and says, before you ask, considering the severity of the situation, I decided it was best if I brought your mother here with me. She's currently convalescing in one of the audience chambers at the moment while we have this talk.
Aside, because he said that he did some digging, Hikan looked sheepish because Hikan buried the rest of Torquin's tower.
What?
Yeah, use the Quake Medallion, one of the little side things about it.
He says, I thought it was odd how Zelish had been keeping entirely within his home for the preceding time. I have reason to believe that his grief has gotten the better of him, and he has started to believe that everyone is an enemy, including myself.
Well, given your suspicions, I don't believe that telling him that the murderer of the king has been dealt with is entirely good news to him.
If he listens, he might spin it in a different fashion. And as he says that, Imputer says, sorry, excuse me, Nihilus. You're saying that, what, Zelish ordered you captured or killed? And Nihilus just very matter-of-factly gives a nod. Says, I don't know exactly why he has found himself in a situation that he wishes to do that. Even with how grief-stricken he must have been, it is difficult to justify it without some form of push. Suffice to say, it is not exactly a matter that I can deal with by myself. And given my recent failings, I don't think it would go particularly well if I was to try.
I doubt we, or at least I personally, would have better luck. The man tried to order me killed on sight.
I am aware, and he exhales a terrible sigh as he just kind of thinks back on that and just adds it to the yet again to the list of failing as a dad things that he's clearly got running in his head. But he simply states, suffice to say, your exploits recently has ultimately put me in a state of mind where you are more or less our best hope.
This does not bode well.
So no one knows what he's been up to, locked up in their house?
Neither shakes his head. No one else has gone in or out, not even any of the elders. He just hasn't moved.
What about food? Water?
That was one of the things that had made me curious. What he was doing to sustain himself if he had not left his home. People had put parcels outside of his door, but there's evidence to say that no one has taken them, not even any passerby. They just pile up.
Is there any, connection to historical curses or creatures or anything that might ring a bell with this?
That's a good question. Give me either an arcana to know if there's any magical malady that goes beyond this, religion, if there's anything specifically from an outsider sort of perspective, like a demon or anything like that, or insight generally for basic interpretation. And everybody else can do the same thing as well if they need to.
I'm gonna hit on Arcana from...
I went for religion and got a 29.
Wow.
I'll give Uriel help on his Arcana check.
Good point.
Okay. He gets a 35.
He knows a thing or two.
Okay.
He sells this shit. He's got to know his stuff.
He does.
But
I
yeah.
think he also has expertise in Arcana.
Most likely.
Yeah.
I'm not going to surpass that anytime soon.
Okay, so let's go down the things. So, first off, for Arcana, as you kind of provide possibilities and ideas and everything to Uriel, he strokes his chin a little bit, and
Specifically
says,
because I am less intelligent and don't have things in Arcana, I just suggest the stuff that we've probably seen in things like the Plane of Lament or otherworldly things that we ourselves have
from
fought.
when we last saw him.
Mm-hmm.
The guy was
The
acting.
Yeah.
Zealous is turning into the desiccated husk that is beneath Hyrule Castle in Breath of the Wild.
Oh no. Someone get him some water.
yeah.
Rehydrate.
Rehydrate this wizard. But yeah, you Uriel kind of thinks it over and eventually says, well, there's a lot of stuff that it could be. I suppose for the sake of being able to sustain oneself, there is magic that allows you to just create food. And he kind of casts a glance to Zayden, and says, but otherwise, I'm not exactly certain. The only other magical force that I could think of that would sustain someone such as that would be not exactly a practice that many people are willing to go for. A lot of wizards and a lot of more book-orientated spellcasters, when they get to a point where they need to do something and need to extend their life, he kind of like, even as he begins suggesting it, he kind of breathes in sharply through his teeth and says, they tend to go down a path called lichdom.
That's what I just did.
Yeah.
This is in character.
Yeah. But that takes a lot of time and a lot of atrocities in order to make that work. Even if you have the best of intentions, it takes a lot of atrocities to make being a lich work. And at the end of it all, your mind is not exactly your own. Maybe there are certain things he might have done to sustain himself, but I don't know if any of them would specifically draw him into a more reclusive state. Maybe a cursed magical item. A lot of, especially sentient ones, are the type to kind of pull people in certain directions beyond their reckoning. Zayden, with your religion check, you come to the conclusion that there's as far as outsiders are concerned, there are demons and devils aplenty that are capable of making people more reclusive or paranoid, and providing them with power based off of nebulously made deals. If there's anything that you can think of, it's possible that Zelish may have struck a bargain with something. Like, grief is a great motivator for desperation, and desperation is what makes contracts with outsiders like this work. He was in a state of mind where Zelish had lost a son, effectively, and had been trying desperately to find his killer and the reason why this happened. And bits and pieces could point him in the direction of trying to ask a higher power for any kind of indication as to, like, where these killers may lie, or what the best solution to take them out is. Max, with your insight check, you note that, much like as Zayden's religion check would state, that, you know, contracts with outer beings are fueled off of desperation and despair and all that kind of stuff. You note that people in positions like this, when beset by grief, are vulnerable. The question is, what would Zelish be vulnerable to if he's just been keeping himself inside his home? Like, what is it exactly that he would be at risk of? Considering all that you've gone through, I'd say that it probably also occurs to you maybe that freedom from any kind of emotional or physical pain is something that has been used as a bargaining chip before.
I would like to point out that Max did accompany Hikan to be one of the last people to probably see Zelish in the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If that gives Max any additional insight.
Oh yeah, I'd say that, like, you when you last saw Zelish, he was tired and desperate and just looked so drained. It was basically seeing someone on the very edge of giving up.
Yeah, if I told him that I could just throw the king's killer at his feet at that moment, he probably would have said, "Yeah, do it."
Yeah.
Well, someone else got them first. glance over at Nihilus. What do you suggest we do?
In many instances, I would have taken to more subterfuge myself, but, well, Zelish is no pushover, and he is not in the right mind. Even if I was to be able to sneak in unseen, I cannot tell exactly what other things he might have prepared for the sake of his own basic protection. I intended to enter his home and see if I could find anything, but I do not feel comfortable doing so without suitable backup, and considering the fact that my last backup when investigating Torquin was, well, potential turncoats, I think it might be best if I were to have people I know I can trust. If, of course, you are willing to help me in this. Task force or no, I would very much like the power for of your ability to help to be in your hands.
There are other matters at the moment, but...
Which ones?
Situation in the West.
Can't do
Ever
that for a
encroach.
couple of days for Risha to get back to Sarkosa. I interrupted, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right. Well, there is that. There is the ever-encroaching sovereign hand, though.
Need Imperium for that, too.
That's correct.
Amen.
Thank you. Mara says, well, I don't know exactly how much help I can be, but I'll help. I'll do what I can. Nihilus gives a bit of a nod. Impa looks over to Nihilus and says, are you sure this is exactly what you believe should happen? After all, this is the Grand Master, right? This is... It's a dangerous thing. Yes, I am aware. But I have run out of potential leads, and I fear for his safety as much as I fear for the safety of the rest of Kakariko. I think this needs to be done.
What you are suggesting is the equivalent of treason.
I am aware.
Alvarez is like, if he's unfit for office, no, it is not.
Master's here, like, I don't care how important he is. I'm gonna shoot a lightning bolt at him if he's fucking up.
But Hikan does not have that type of political knowledge, so...
There's just a wry smile that I don't think it is Renji's smile at the moment. Huh. I never expected to hear you say that.
I am deeply aware of the irony, yes. Though he does kind of grin a little bit as he says that.
When do we want to get this part done? Do we want to do it as soon as possible?
I think it is best that if we are going to do it, we do it as soon as we can. I do not know whether or not Zelish has any kind of eyes or ears at this moment in time. The less time he has to prepare, the better. You all still have your authority to enter Kakariko unmolested, so we shouldn't need to worry about any stray arrows at the gate.
I
They
believe
shoot me again, I will hurt them.
Should we Should we approach from the gate, or should we just appear in the village?
Nah,
Is
that's
there
racist.
a tree nearby the gate? We might use that to avoid any
There's plenty of trees near the gate. That's where we came.
incident.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of trees near the gate. If you wanted to be a bit more direct, there is a singular large tree that kind of sits in the middle of Kakariko. But yeah, there's plenty of
Pokes
ways.
his head out of the tree and an arrow just slams into it right next to him. It's like they know.
But yeah. Nala says, well, if you have a method to get there faster than we normally do, then would be to do by horseback, then by all means I shall follow your lead.
Well, currently my horse is in Kakariko, so...
We told them to bring him back.
Did we?
Yep.
I have not heard news from Pom, so...
Yes.
Yeah. Well then, if there are any preparations that you need to do before we depart, then I'll say best to do them. I will still be here at the castle when we are ready. And of course, thank you. And as he says that, his eyes finally cast over Sophitia, given the fact that she was his charge, and this is the first time they've seen each other. Though she's still
not disguised.
She's still disguised as a handmaiden, but this is Nihilus.
I know.
He passed the
Just
check
tells me
to see
that-
if it was her.
Yeah.
Why is this handmaiden with
Here.
the two royals
Yeah.
and everyone else here?
Yeah. I mean, it does tell me that I need more than just a disguise to get one over Dad. Although
He's good at his job.
my plus 15 on deception.
That's true. But yeah, he just kind of like folds his arms and bows up a body slightly and says, "It's good to see that you are well." And Sophitia just kind of gives a nod and says, "I am sorry for causing so much trouble. No need to apologize. I do not think being kidnapped out of the castle in the middle of a party is something that you had complete control over. You're fine. Just so long as you are safe." And Sophitia kind of nods and says, "When this is over, remind me to tell you about everything we did by Lake Hylia. It will be quite entertaining, I assure you." And Nihilus nods a bit and says, "Very well." And then turns to the rest of you and says, "So, please, if there are any preparations you need to do, please do them. I'll wait for your signal to make my way over."
Okay. And then Hikan would like to talk to Impa and Aliyah about the harvester's meat suit. Specifically about the Helmsor King tail, and then talk with Uriel about getting that to him if he could make a belt out of it that would, I believe the way Hikan would phrase it, would make his strikes more potent.
Okay.
Make his punchy go punchy.
Yeah.
Add exclamation points.
Yeah.
Yes.
As you kind of like I imagine with the three of you, just kind of the three of them in this same conversation as you bring it up. There's a moment where they're all, well, Aliyah is still as statuesque as she usually is, but Emperor and Uriel are quite surprised until you note that it is what the purpose is for, and Uriel's like, "Nah, I get it, I understand." It was like, you understand? Oh yeah,
Magic shit.
it's magic. I can assure you, despite my impeccably dressed form, it is not exactly as glamorous as you might think when making magic items. Right. Sure. Okay.
Yeah, I made a potion out of an eyeball once.
I'll go check to see if the thing is still there.
I am leaving this
Wonderful.
conversation now.
Absolutely wonderful.
It was 19.
To
and she's
Aaliyah, it was very
already
thick.
too old for this shit.
I am younger.
Yeah.
I believe, like, did we say, like, what was the age of adulthood here again? Because I am that plus, like, a couple of months.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you are younger than him, but I can't remember what the exact age we had. I keep thinking
17 or
16
18.
17, yeah.
To be fair, Hikan's been drinking, and on his sheet it says 17. So
Yes.
That's fair. But yeah, as Impa disappears, to go and see if it's still there. After a time, they do say that because they tried burning the thing, they did, just to make sure it didn't come back. But it was very resistant to it. So they've kept it like in a storage area for the moment, just to make sure it doesn't just reanimate itself and cause more problems. But yeah, they do still have the materials available, and when she explains that, Uriel will explain, oh, well, by all means, if I have access to that, then I can make you what you're looking for. How about, and he kind of like glances over to the group, about to potentially depose the leader of the Sheikah, and then looks back to Hikan and says, well, we'll discuss prices and everything when you get back. How's that sound?
Who knows what Zelish might have in his home.
sure, you don't know how long it's gonna take or how well this will work for what it is you're trying to do. So
Yeah,
I'm cool with that.
it'll take me more than a day or two. So I'll assess that, and then when you get back, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you do, Mara speaks briefly with the king and the prince and the princess, and provides them with like several sheafs of paper with most of the stuff she's written down as far as like reports go, and then kind of bows slightly, and then comes back over to join all of you, and she kind of like casts a glance over at Renji a bit, and then leans over to Zayden and quietly just says, "Is Renji okay? He was a bit weird on the sending stone."
Quite a lot happened. I think he's still processing it.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll just have to keep an eye on him, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm assuming, but do I hear this?
Give me a perception check.
It is a perception check. Like, my standard is 22, but sure.
You might get higher.
I get
See?
higher.
Yeah. You do hear it. Like, there's no real malice in it, but there's just kind of like it's clear Mara is concerned.
It's concern, yeah. I think, especially at the end of this meeting, away from Nihilus's eyes, my face goes from placid to slight but growing frustration.
as you all prepare to set off to head to Kakariko Village to investigate Nihilus. I believe, not investigate Nihilus, investigate with Nihilus, investigate Zelish. I believe what we'll do is we'll call that session for today, and we'll continue on next time. Thank you everybody so much for listening / watching. I have been ArticulateT. This has been Hyrule Chronicles. This has been episode 107, and with me, as always, I have had Renji Vox, being played by TheNetherlad.
I'm going to have to work with my dad.
Let's take your son to work day.
Yeah. I have had Hikan Sio, being played by Avrdal.
Yeah, and then you got to work on yourself.
Oh no.
I've had Zayden Shari, being played by RoboPirate.
I thought you wanted to spend more time with him.
When did I say that?
All the time.
All kids want to spend more time with their dads, right?
Look, I want to shut him up. I do not want to spend time with him.
And I've had Max, being played by Keisha.
Let's go kill an old guy.
Yeah.
Yay!
We'll see you
I
guys
don't know
next
if we're gonna kill him,
time.
but
We'll see you guys next time. Take care now. Bye bye then.
Bye-bye.
Bye.